Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to a response video to Eric Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern. Sorry, Tenkar. And Joe the lawyer. I didn't watch Greyhawk Grognard's video because I already... Anyways, they say, or at least they used to say, a picture was worth 1,000 words. But today they say AI is not welcome in the role-playing game creation process for a whole bunch of reasons. But I want to get, before I get into the biggest topic, I want to talk about some other uses that AI is creeping into our hobbies that you may or may not be aware of and are not talking about, but are equally valid and actually are the face of things to come. For example, in the miniature hobby, right now there are various tools that are replacing sculptors. The old-fashioned, time-honored tradition, of sculpting miniatures for, our games were, made out of various materials and sculpted by hand, and then turned into a mold, and then you pour the metal and you get your miniature. But now you've got CAD drawing, 3D scanning, all kinds of electronic digital tools that take the entire process, the art form, if you will, of sculpting right out of the equation, because it's easier, cheaper, faster, less messy, and for the most part you can get a superior miniature that way. But for those of us who are fans of the old school miniatures, you don't really hear us complaining all that much when Games Workshop comes out with a new line of fantastically designed miniatures that a regular sculptor would have to spend weeks, if not months, of many hours to create a quality miniature. Then a recent thing that's come up real recently is music, AI generated music for our games. Our good friend Bear, the Gen X GM, has created a huge library of AI music to, for the most part, go along with his superhero and now fantasy worlds of gaming, to have inspirational music you can listen to when you're not playing the game, that remind you of the game world. Heck, I had my good friend Armstrong from Adaptation Miniatures in-game create like half a dozen songs about my game. Songs that, imagine a minstrel or a group of minstrels or bards created about specific events that happened in my game. Instead of just imagining the bard playing the song, my friend created some really nice songs about things that had happened in our game that we can now imagine or listen to and remind us of those things. But you don't hear too many people complaining. There's a lot of people say, "Oh, I recognize it as AI art or AI music, and I don't like it." And each song I take on a case-by-case basis. I either like it or I don't. Am I going to go out and replace all my collections of CDs with new AI art, AI music? No, of course not. I'm a huge fan. I used to be a musician, and I'm a big fan of music. Real music has something that AI is never going to have, and that to me is soul. But more importantly, it has real people who've had real lives, who've suffered and needed to, get out their suffering through music. But for those of you and us out there who can't do that, who can't take the time to learn a new musical instrument, never had the time, or just really didn't have the skill or talent to do that, they can now take Suno or other AI art generating programs and create the music of their dreams. And I would never begrudge any of those people from doing something that makes them happy, as long as it's legal, of course. And even then, depends on where you are. But we don't hear about that as much. If you're in the music industry, you hear about it and how it's going to replace all of us. Rush did a great freaking, concept album, 2112. It was more or less about exactly that. People no longer needing to make music because the AI is going to do it for them. And that was back in the 70s, and here we are, and it's literally happening. I mean, in a certain amount of time, I don't know when, I'm not a prophet, but you can guarantee there's going to be more and more AI music, to the point where people will forget that there were ever even musical instruments. My son plays two of them. He's probably going to learn a third one at some point. And for those people, that's a big part of their life. But for the people who don't have the time or the skill or whatever, they can literally make art, make music at home without the same amount of skill, but still produce something that's going to make them, and believe it or not, other people happy. Ask Bear, he's got people, listening to his radio station, listening to his music, not the same numbers or anything, but, it makes all those people happy and they're enjoying themselves. And, it's going to be a while before it's, replaced entirely by AI music. We've got acting. At some point in the near future, you've probably seen tons of AI generated videos on YouTube of AI generated content, and it's only going to be a matter of time before Hollywood decides that we don't need actors anymore. We'll just make our own. So, before you start jumping on the old, AI art is bad, be careful, because, whether you like it or not, it is coming. And actors are going to soon be a thing of the past, because the billions of dollars that they bring in can be replaced with a $100 program, and it's not going to be long before Hollywood says, why are we paying you guys? We can just make you guys up. Then we get to the crux of the issue, which is AI art in our role-playing game books. Right off the bat, if you say you're not going to buy role-playing games with AI art in it, you're literally telling anyone who doesn't have a super huge budget that can afford to pay artists an exorbitant amount of money, exorbitant fees for their hand-drawn and inked art. You're telling those independent creators who can't afford that, but might very well have a fantastic project, but they can never afford to get it because you guys are gatekeeping them the hell out of the community by saying, well, you don't have the budget, you can't afford to pay the artists, then you don't deserve to write role-playing games, or you're going to have to give over the lion's share of the profits to the artists. Now think about it. If you had a great idea and you wanted to make a role-playing game, but you can't afford the budget for hand-drawn art or hand-painted art, you can't afford it, you're not allowed to make a role-playing game. It's literally what you guys are saying. And if you look back in the before times, in the beginning of the hobby, games like Traveler had kind of crappy art, but it wasn't the art that was selling the book. It was the concept behind the role-playing game itself. It was what was written by the creator of that game, their ideas that deserved the money, the lion's share of the profit. It was their idea, not the artist. Don't forget, if it weren't for the writer, the artist would have nothing to draw. Maybe they would have drawn something, with their time, but they wouldn't have drawn that very specific item that the creator of the game said, hey, I need a sci-fi piece of art and I want you to draw this. They would have never had that idea, and they would have never drawn that picture. Okay? And there are some games out there, some big games on my shelves that have the worst art I've ever seen. I'm sorry, I'm going to point fingers at Dungeon Crawl Classics, Mutant Crawl Classics. That's literally the worst art I've ever seen in my life. But yet, it's a big company. They could afford to pay more. They chose the art style they wanted to go with. It's their book. It's their, it's their choice. They wanted to go with that. Okay. There's even some other companies, I commented on the comic strip in the Red Room's Savage Swords game. Love the game. The comic art, sorry, it's not my cup of tea. I don't like it. But does that mean that the game sucks? No, the game is great. I love the game. You guys heard me whinge on about it all day and night about that game. It's a great game. But it's made by a guy and a girl who do everything themselves practically. And the only reason they can do that is because they used AI art. They didn't have it in their budget to put out or take out a loan to pay for the art. And if it wasn't for them using AI art, I wouldn't get to play that game. I would have never seen that game. That game would have never existed. And going forward, there's a whole lot of things. I mean, do you use the Burger King app when you're ordering food? Well, you're cutting out the jobs of a whole bunch of people who are just getting their start in life. Minimum wage jobs. You're telling them, well, we don't need you because, I'm going to just use the app and replace you with a machine. Or do you use the kiosk when you go into the restaurant and you bypass the cashier who's, trying to, feed their family on, their job? Well, when you use those kind of technologies, you're doing the same thing, but it's more convenient for you right then, right now, because you want your burger and fries. So you got to be careful, where you draw that line. I won't buy this or that because it's got AI art in it. Well, do you really know what you're saying? Do you really think about it? You're saying that, you do you really sit and stare at the artwork in the role-playing games for minutes on end going, ooh, this is great art? Maybe. I mean, back in the day we kind of did, but, as we get older and we're, buying the next new shiny role-playing game, the art is less and less important, at least to me. I'm more interested in the words. What's this game really about? Sure, like I said at the beginning of the video, an image is worth 1,000 words, and sometimes you absolutely can't live without that art. But I mean, does it make or break the game? Does it really make the game better knowing that someone hand drew this art and got paid, hundreds of dollars to draw that, but yet the guy who came up with the book can't even make $5 a book for the book that they're trying to publish because they have to pay more money to the artist than their idea? Does that sound fair to you? Is that right? To me, that sounds like, why even get into the business? I guess it's only the big companies that are now allowed to make role-playing games because you've literally kicked those independent creators to the curb saying, yeah, we're going to keep you out of the industry because you don't have the money. And you'll never get to make the money. You can just be a customer or a player, but you can't be a creator. And there are a lot of people out there, especially, us older folks who've been in the hobby for decades and finally have the ability to put all of our experience and our knowledge and our ideas into a game book, but without taking a second mortgage out on our home, or a big loan, or going into debt, or working overtime to pay an artist to put one image or two images or half a dozen or even the full book, but they get more money than the creator, the original guy who said, I got this idea, I want to make it a reality. So for those of you who say, I won't buy a game with AI art in it, and I know the arguments, well, AI art sucks. Well, maybe 6 months ago you could have got away with saying that, but if you look around and you look at some of the products that use AI art, and you look at the innovations and the corrections that have been made, the extra fingers and all the hand issues, I haven't seen that in 6 months. And I do dabble with making AI art, and occasionally I have that issue and other issues. But in the course of 5 minutes, I can eventually come up with the image that I'm looking for. That, recently Bloodworth said, hey, we need avatars for your character tokens in Dragon Slayer. I kid you not, on the first try, sorry, I'll be honest, second try, I put in a prompt, I typed what I wanted my character to look like. The first one, they got the hair wrong because it just wanted to make different color hair than I wanted. I changed that one word, and I'm like, oh my god, the picture's perfect. It's just my character. I'm going to play it. It's only going to be a tiny little icon on the screen, but you know what? If you look at the big picture, that's my character. It tells the story. Everything you want to know about my character in one image. Boom. Okay? Go look at some AI art, because I've seen some crappy art. I've created some crappy AI art. Crappy AI art that I wouldn't share with anybody and delete it as quick as possible so it didn't mess with the algorithm. But I've also seen and made some AI art that would cost me $500 minimum to have, if I took that image and gave it to another artist, and said, could you repeat this but make it better? A couple $100 minimum for something that took me a couple of minutes to come up with the preliminary image that I wanted, that I could have actually just settled with, but the gatekeepers, the snobs out there who don't like AI art, would refuse to buy my product if I ever make one because it had that image in it, versus me being able to actually make that book a reality and then use that money to then, feed my family or create another project because it was viable. It was able to generate some income. So before you draw that line in the sand and you won't buy those products that use it, think about the things I've said, because you're already using AI technology. Do you use Google Docs? Do you use spell check? Do you use grammar check? That's technically AI. And if you're using it for your term paper or your novel or anything like that, it's the same arguments for all those same things. Go out there, look, and if you don't know where to look, I can guide you to some places where you can look at the AI art and see how much better it's getting. Because whether you like it or not, no matter how much you fuss and protest and boycott and shadow ban, that sort of thing, it's all going to be an eventuality. It's all going to take over a greater portion of the communities that create and need art or music or what have you. You can't stop it. You just can't. History is full of people who railed against the next new technology and ended up, on the street or worse because they didn't adapt to mankind's ever-growing innovations. And this is just another one of them. You can, be, on one side or the other, but one side's going to win. One side is going to be the reality. Maybe not in your lifetime, but eventually all the things I've said are going to come to pass, because it's all about the bottom line. What's cheaper? Paying an artist $500, $1,000, $1,500 for a cover painting, or going the route that Traveler did and had just words on the cover that cost them no money and it wasn't AI? Or are they going to make a nice, decent, maybe even fantastic image through AI art programs that cost them, literally just pennies? What would you do? Would you literally shell out the $1,500 and maybe not even get what you're asking for, but they fulfilled the contract and you're stuck with a painting that'll look nice on the wall but it'll never see the cover of your book? Or would you rather spend 8 cents to make an image and 10 minutes of time and you did it yourself and you're not paying anybody? What do you think the big companies are going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go grab my copy of Savage Swords or something like that, or maybe I'll just go watch some Buck Rogers. What do you guys think? But that's what I've got for you this morning. I know this is a little bit longer one, but this has been bothering me, and don't get me wrong, there's things about AI technology that I think are bad, but these aren't them. There are other things that are more wide-sweeping and more impactful on humanity's future. So if you want to, protest against something, leave the little guys out of it. They're just trying to make a buck, trying to get their creative vision out and share it with people. No, they have no ill intent other than making a fast buck, maybe. Give them a chance. Get back to me when you've seen some, and if you can't find any great AI art to look at, I'll be happy to show you some of my good friends' work. George, you've seen him on my channel quite a bit. He makes some of the best stuff I've ever seen. Absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful images. And yeah, I can't wait to print them. So I'll see you guys later on down the road. Have yourself a great week. Excuse me. It's still technically Sunday here in Shadowland. Sorry, didn't mean to spoil the illusion that I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and recorded this, but it's actually about 9 o'clock my time here in Avocado Land. I love you guys. I will look forward to seeing your comments and remarks in the comment section. But until then, Happy New Year. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the funny papers.